Alrighty, so today what we're going to be working on here for a little bit is we're getting ready to run the fence down along this side of the hayfield. And it's not going to be going where the existing fence is back in there. I'm going to bump it out a little bit. Right now the existing fence goes kind of, all through the trees and stuff. There's no need to put it in there because I wouldn't really even be mowing up into there like for hay or anything anyways. So we're gonna move it out probably 20 feet or so. But before we can do that, I need to go through and clear a bunch of brush that's kind of leaning out into the field here, get all that moved out of the way. We'll probably dump it over on the burn pile right over there. And then once we get all this stuff cleared out, we can drive some fence posts through here and get this strung. Alright, so the next part of the exclusion fence we're going to work on, the turkey field is over there. You can probably hear the generator running for the pump. The cattle have been drinking down the water level up in the cistern, so that's running over there. So the turkey field's over there. Then the exclusion fence is kind of coming from over in the general direction of where that water trough is over there. It's going to run along there, then it's going to head up that direction, and then it's going to go down over that bank over there, and then that'll tie into the fence that's going along the lane that goes beside the spring field. So the thing that I need to decide right now is I want to put a gate up here someplace, and I need to figure out where that's going. Obviously this has a bit of a, well, maybe it's hard to tell, but this slopes down there. I want to try figuring out where the best place to put the gate is, so that it's not too terribly sloped. But what I need to do is I'm just going to bring the brush grapple, got that on the skid steer, bring that through here and try pushing down some of this little autumn olive through here, getting stuff knocked back a little bit, and then see if there's a spot that looks like the best place to put the gate. And then I can mark where that's going to go, and then we can run fence through here. Alright, so that was the extent of the footage that I got of actually putting the fence in, which wasn't a whole lot. But there wasn't really a whole lot of exclusion fence left to do either. So we're back over here in the turkey field, the hay field, and this is the fence that we put in along this side. And as I kind of showed you before, it's off of where the old existing fence was. It's, depending on where you're at, it's 10 to 20 feet off of there. There wasn't really anything nice in there, and in addition to that, it gives room to clear out some of this junk that's in there. because that's going to be a whole project in and of itself to get that cleaned out, especially with having a whole bunch of trees in here that are going to have wire going through it, and that's just going to be a mess. So that kind of avoided having to deal with that for the time being. Now this was almost a straight stretch through here. When we were originally looking at putting stuff in, we put in a gate down all the way at the bottom, and the H-brace for that wasn't quite angled right for meeting up down at this end. So there is one leaning post in there, one of those little leaners, but aside from that, this is almost a straight shot. Now up here, this is our little paddock area, and this is, again, so that we can do sort of a 3 pastures into 1 cattle waterer. So this allows me to either have cattle in here during the winter or something. They can come up through this gate and get over to the water. They can be over in that area, or they can be over in that area. So it gives you 3 different options for 1 waterer. But anyways, so our fence continues from that gate over there. This is more exclusion that was put in, and then this goes all the way up the hill. And then that area up there is where I was doing some clearing with the skid steer earlier. And then right up here, not all the way up to the top of this little hill, but kind of over towards this corner of it more is where the gate ended up going. And this will just give a little bit more access from down in that area up into here without having to go either all the way around that way or all the way down around through the turkey field, through the paddock, and up around into here. It'll make it a little bit easier to kind of connect between the 2 areas. And then this goes all the way around over to here. And this down at the bottom of the hill connects into the fence that we'd put in before that goes through there, and that's sort of the laneway. There's fence on either side of the road that kind of comes up around that away and brings you up past the farmhouse and towards the back of the farm, heading this direction. And so that was all of the exclusion fence that had to be put in down here along the creek yet. We'd put in a bunch more before, but this was the only part that was left yet to do, was just kind of coming up around that hayfield, around below where the cemetery is, and then connecting over towards the spring field. So now we're gonna head up to the back of the farm, and that's where the last little bit of the exclusion fence is for all the way up at the very backwoods. That's stuff that we started on last fall, I think it was, and then things got really wet and muddy, and so we kind of dropped off doing that, and now we finally gotten back around to getting that part finished up. And so last but certainly not least is our back fence here. This little section right here goes over to the property line, and I'm pretty sure it has the most posts per linear feet of any stretch on the farm, because it's it kind of goes up a little bit in elevation here, then it drops down, it goes back up, it drops back down again to the final brace. So there's a post about every 20 feet through this section, and a lot of other spots it was spaced out considerably farther than that. Now you've actually already seen a lot of this fence almost in place before. We had all the braces in, some of the wire was already strung back here as far as giving us a line to know where to line up for putting in the line post. So really the main project for this, for finishing this off, was just getting in all of these line posts, which actually went in way easier than I thought it was going to be. There's so much rock back around in here that I thought it was just going to take forever to get all these in, and they actually went in pretty smooth, and I think we put them in within maybe a day, which for as long of a stretch as this is going from side to side of the property, that was a whole lot better than I thought it was going to be. Now, one thing that you may have noticed with all this exclusion fence that we just put in, it is all 6 strands. Again, we didn't have to do 6 to meet the NRCS specifications, but since it was exclusion fence, and like this one, this is what keeps anything from going on up the mountain and over the mountain and into national forest property and all sorts of stuff like that. So for some of these things that are a little bit more important to keep stuff within the farm, we went ahead and put in all 6 strands just to be done with it and have it be a little bit more secure. So these are done. Of course, with some of the rotational stuff, those we still got to go through and add in the other 3 strands to kind of get it finished out to where we want it to be for long-term use. But the exclusion fences, those are all good to go. So with the exclusion fences done, that officially wraps up all the fence that we had to have done for the grant. The stuff that we'd done previously, like I said, was rotational fence, which is a different category of fence, but this wraps up everything. So that kind of does it for getting any sort of fencing done with NRCS. Everything that's left is just stuff that is going to be done on my own time, and whenever it gets done is when it gets done. So I think that is going to do it for today's final-ish update on fences for the NRCS grant. As always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next time.